September 2008. A 158-year-old bank collapsed overnight. $600 billion gone. Retirement accounts vanished. Millions lost their jobs. 4 million families lost their homes. And the executives who caused it? One of them paid a fine from his $600 million fortune and retired to a beach house in Malibu. If you're under 30, this might feel like ancient history, but that housing market you can't afford? The job market that crushed your first years out of school? It all traces back to here, and to a lie so simple you could fit it on a billboard. Why rent when you can own? So let's go back before the crash, back to when getting a mortgage was easier than getting a library card, and meet the people who made it that way. To understand 2008, you have to understand what came before it. The early 2000s were rough. The dot-com bubble had just popped. Then came 9/11. America was shaken. So the Federal Reserve did what it does in a crisis. It slashed interest rates all the way down, basically to zero. The idea was simple: make borrowing cheap, people spend money, economy recovers. And it worked. Maybe too well. Because here's what no one saw coming. That cheap money would create a machine. A machine that would print mortgages for anyone with a pulse and make a few people very, very rich. See, when money is cheap, banks need to lend it. That's how they make money. But they started running out of qualified borrowers. So what did they do? They lowered the bar. Then they lowered it again and again, until the bar was basically underground. Congratulations, you're approved for a $500,000 mortgage. But we make $40,000 a year. Not a problem. They called these ninja loans. No income, no job, no assets, no problem. Bad credit? No credit? Currently living in a van? You, sir, qualify for a luxury condo. This wasn't a glitch. This was the business model. And one man turned this business model into an empire. His name was Angelo Mozillo. They called him the subprime king. But we'll get to him. First, you need to understand how Wall Street took this mess, millions of loans to people who couldn't pay, and turned it into a weapon of mass financial destruction. What if they default? Then we sell the house for more. Housing prices always go up. How do you know? Because they always have. That was the belief. Housing prices always go up because they always had. It wasn't economics, it was faith. And faith in finance is a very dangerous thing. What happens when you combine cheap money, zero standards, and blind faith? You get a bubble. But this bubble had a secret weapon, and Wall Street was about to unleash it. By 2005, buying a house wasn't just the American dream anymore. It was a lottery ticket. I teach phonics during the day, and at night, I buy condos, 3 this month. Buy, flip, profit, repeat. Everyone was doing it. And the banks, they couldn't write loans fast enough. Remember that name I mentioned? Angelo Mozillo, the subprime king. The tan man, famous for his year-round bronze glow and his simple business model. Approve everyone. His company, Countrywide, became the biggest mortgage lender in America. And Mozillo, he was getting very, very rich. But there was a problem. These banks had millions of risky loans sitting on their books. If borrowers defaulted, the banks would be stuck. So Wall Street invented a magic trick. Pay attention here, because this is where the magic trick happens. They took thousands of mortgages, good ones, bad ones, terrible ones, bundled them together and called it a mortgage-backed security, an MBS. The pitch? Sure, some loans might fail, but not all of them. Risk averaged out. Sounds reasonable, right? There was just one problem. How do you sell a bundle that's full of garbage? This bundle is a sack of AAA rating. What? AAA, safest investment grade. It's right there on the label. The rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, Fitch, they were supposed to be the referees. But here's the catch. The banks paid them. It was like letting students grade their own exams and paying the teacher to look the other way. But wait, it gets worse. They took these mortgage bundles, already sketchy, and repackaged them again into CDOs, collateralized debt obligations. Bundles of bundles. Complexity hiding risk. Remember what I said about the magic trick? This is how the trick works. Make it so complicated that no one asks questions. And then, the masterpiece. Credit default swaps. CDS. Imagine this. You can buy life insurance on your neighbor's grandma. You don't know her, you're not related. But if she dies, you get paid. That's basically what a CDS was. Bet that someone else's mortgage bundle fails. Collect when it does. Wall Street had created financial plutonium, and they were selling it to everyone. But not everyone was buying. A few oddballs, hedge fund managers who actually read the fine print, they saw the rot underneath. You want to bet against the housing market? That's adorable. They weren't laughing. They were loading up on bets, waiting for the tower to fall. And by late 2006, the first cracks started to appear. At first, it was just a whisper, a missed payment here, a foreclosure there. Then the whisper became a scream, and one man's stubbornness would turn a crisis into a catastrophe. At first, it was a whisper, a missed mortgage payment in California, a foreclosure in Florida, an empty condo in Vegas. 2007, subprime loans started failing. The people with no income, no job, no assets, turns out they couldn't pay. Shocking. But the banks said, don't worry, it's contained, just a few bad apples. It wasn't contained. Remember that complexity I warned you about? Here's why it mattered. Those mortgage bundles, the MBS, the CDOS, they weren't just on one bank's books. They were everywhere. Pension funds, insurance companies, foreign governments. Everyone was holding the same bomb, and the fuse was lit. And at Lehman Brothers, there was Dick Fuld, the gorilla of Wall Street, known for his temper, his intimidation, and one fatal flaw. He refused to sell. He refused when Lehman was worth something. He refused when the offers came. He refused until there was nothing left to sell. September 15th, 2008. Lehman Brothers, 158 years old, older than the Civil War, filed for bankruptcy. How much did they lose? $600 billion. In one day? Overnight. No bailout, no rescue, no second chance. And then, panic. The whole system ran on one thing: trust. When Lehman died, the trust died with it. I need a loan to make payroll this week. Sorry, no liquidity. What does that even mean? It means we're closed. Good luck. Credit froze. Stock market cratered. Iceland's banks collapsed, all three of them. Tokyo, London, Frankfurt, all scrambling. If Lehman can die, anyone can. The Great Recession had officially begun. 8 million jobs would vanish. 4 million homes would be lost. $19 trillion gone. But here's the question that should make your blood boil. What happened to the people who caused this? The government faced an impossible choice. Let the banks fail and watch the entire economy collapse. Breadlines, mass unemployment, maybe worse than the Great Depression. Or bail them out and reward the people who lit the match. They chose the bailout. October 2008. TARP, $700 billion. AIG, $180 billion. GM, Chrysler, another $80 billion. I need $700 billion. For what? To shovel into burning banks before the whole thing explodes. The Federal Reserve printed money, slashed rates to zero. Anything to stop the bleeding. By March 2009, the markets stabilized. The system survived. But the people? Behind those numbers, there were 4 million stories like this one. I did everything right. Bought a modest house in 2006, saved for the down payment, never missed a single payment. Then the layoffs came. I was 52, too old to start over, they said, too young to retire. I lost the house anyway, and the bank that took my home, they got bailed out the same month. That story wasn't rare. That was 4 million Americans. Unemployment, 10%. 8 million jobs, gone. 19 trillion in household wealth, vanished. And the executives who caused it? Let's see how they suffered. Remember Angelo Mazzillo, the subprime king? He paid a $67 million fine from his $600 million fortune. Then he retired to his beach house in Malibu. No major CEO went to prison, not one. Wall Street bonuses are back. Already? I just got evicted. Congratulations on your sacrifice. Wall Street popped champagne. Main Street stood in line for soup. Privatized profits, socialized losses. By 2011, the rage had a name: Occupy Wall Street. We are the 99%. The protests faded, but the lesson didn't. An entire generation learned the same thing. When banks mess up, they get rescued. When you mess up, you get wrecked. Trust in institutions didn't just take a hit, it burned. And if you think this is just a history lesson, you haven't been paying attention.
Because if 2008 taught us anything, it's that the next crisis doesn't look like the last one. It looks harmless, profitable, inevitable. Until it isn't. Sound familiar? In 2008, Ninja Loans approved anyone breathing. Today, Klarna approves anyone scrolling. The scale is different. The psychology, identical. In 2008, housing prices never go down. Today, AI will change everything. In 2008, rating agencies stamped garbage as gold. Today, analysts set trillion-dollar valuations for AI companies that have never turned a profit. Same playbook, different costume. Complexity hiding risk. Standards dropping for profit. And everyone saying
This time is different. So here's your checklist. When you can't understand the product, that's a warning. When everyone's getting approved, that's a warning. When it can only go up, that's your cue to leave. Remember that lie on the billboard? Why rent when you can own? The next one might already be in your feed. The question is, will you recognize it before it recognizes you?